Hello students, I am Latika Likha. I am gold medalist in MPhil Mathematics and I have been associated with Ask IITians as mathematics faculty for the past 3 years. So now we will be beginning the chapter on definite integration. I have split up this chapter into several parts, that is we have segregated this chapter into various parts, and we will be beginning with the definition obviously of definite integration. We will discuss some of the important facts based on definite integration, and then we will be moving to properties, that is important properties of definite integration. In that you will get to know how do you apply definite integration, and in fact I would also like to tell you that definite integration is basically based on indefinite integration. That is, these two concepts are quite interrelated, and if and only if you are well versed with the indefinite integration will you be able to master this topic, that is definite integration. We shall discuss various important theorems like Wallis theorem, and we shall also discuss definite integration as limit of sum. So basically in the first part we'll begin with the definition of definite integration, and we'll be discussing some of the important facts of definite integration. So let's begin. Okay, so now we'll be beginning the chapter on definite integration, and the only difference between indefinite integration and definite integration, first of all you must have done indefinite integration, only then will you be able to understand definite integration. So the only difference between indefinite integration and definite integration is that in definite integration we are going to have particular limits, right? So basically in indefinite integration you would have learned about how to integrate functions, but there weren't any kind of limits. But in definite integration now we will be having certain fixed limits, and you will be integrating functions in the similar manner but in definite limits. So let's begin. This is an interesting chapter I would say, and it's not that difficult. You'll be able to understand it quite easily. But yes, there are certain properties, and so they should be on your fingertips, and obviously the formula should you should be well versed with the formula also. Okay, first of all let's begin with the definition. So what exactly are we going to do in definite integration? Integral a to b fx dx is equal to fx, where limits vary from a to b and that is equal to fb minus fa. That is, first of all it will be at the point b we will find out the value of the function minus the value of the function at the point a, and this is called the definite integral of fx between the limits a and b, where derivative of capital Fx is small fx. So in indefinite integration you used to have a function like integral fx dx, and now in definite integration you have this integral varies from a to b, and that is equal to fb minus fa, right, where derivative of capital Fx is small fx, or you can say integral of small fx is capital Fx, right. So once we discuss examples the things will be clearer. Now we have certain important points. Like first of all, the first one says if integral a to b fx dx is 0, then the equation fx equal to 0 has at least one root in ab provided f is continuous in ab. So basically what it is saying is that if you have certain integral from a to b of a function fx is equal to 0, then the equation fx equal to 0 will have at least one root in the interval ab provided f is continuous in ab, right? But the converse need not be true. It may or may not be true. Next we have is limit n tends to infinity, integral a to b fnx dx is equal to integral a to b limit n tends to infinity fnx dx. That basically means that, see, if you have to take a limit of a function and I have this, then what I can do is I can take the limit, this term inside the integral sign, and I can write it as integral a to b, then take limit n tends to infinity and fnx dx. So if you have to take limit of an integral, you can take the limit function inside the integral sign and then perform the action. Let's discuss one of the example based on this. Okay, so if suppose I have a question of the form, if limit n tends to infinity minus of cube root a to cube root a, these are the limits, 1 minus t cube by n raised to n, suppose this is what we have, 1 minus t cube by n raised to n, t square dt is equal to 2 root 2 by 3, where n belongs to n, then find the value of a. So this is what is given to us, we need to find out the value of a. So first of all, let me consider the RHS, right? So RHS is minus a raised to 1 by 3 to a raised to 1 by 3, 1 minus, I can take this limit function inside as we have discussed just now in the property. So I take limit inside the integral sign, and then I have 1 minus t cube by n raised to n t square dt. Now this can be written as minus a raised to 1 by 3 to a raised to 1 by 3 e raised to minus t cube t square dt, right? Now to solve this, what I do is I can just substitute t cube equal to some function L, so that you will get 3t square dt equal to dl, and so this function becomes, ultimately once you solve, this will become e raised to minus t cube, and the limits are minus a raised to 1 by 3 to a raised to 1 by 3. So this is equal to 1 by 3 e raised to a minus e raised to minus a. Now this is given, now I equate LHS equal to RHS, because it was given that this limit n tends to infinity, this term is equal to 2 root 2 by 3. So that means this term is equal to 2 root 2 by 3, right? Which means that e raised to a minus e raised to minus a is 2 root 2, and therefore this implies that a is ln root 2 plus root 3, and this is the required value of a. So see, definite integration is quite simple, it is just parallel to indefinite integration, but you just need to concentrate on the limits, that's it. In indefinite integration you must have learnt about how to integrate the various functions, so those methods and those formulas should be on your fingertips. Only then will you be able to solve out the questions of definite integration. Next important point that we have is integral a to b fx derivative of gx is equal to integral g inverse a to g inverse b fx g dash x dx. If fx is continuous in ab, then integral a to b d by dx of fx is fx a to b limits, right? This is possible only if fx is continuous in AB. Whereas if fx is discontinuous in AB at suppose x equal to some point c lying between the interval AB, then integral a to b d by dx of fx would be equal to fx, where the value of fx will take the limits from a to c minus plus fx from c plus to b. So basically we have broken this and we have taken a to c minus, then we are taking c plus to b. Next is if gx is the inverse of fx and fx has domain x belongs to ab, where f at a is c and f at b is t, then the value of integral a to b fx dx plus integral c to d gy dy is equal to bd minus ac. Let's discuss one question based on these properties or these important concepts. Evaluate 0 to pi by 4 cos 2x in under root 4 minus sin 2x dx. So how do you calculate this? The given function is, let me just first take the integral sign function and the integral and we'll then substitute the limits. So basically what I have is this thing, right? So first of all what I do is, in order to integrate this, I put the term under the square root sign as t or whatever you want to, right? So this gives me minus 2 cos 2x dx comes out to be dt. and therefore the integral now becomes, right. So what I have done is I first of all assumed my term in the under root sign to be equal to some function t, and then I'll be finding out the value of integral, and finally we'll be substituting the limits. So integral becomes integral, now we have cos 2x dx is minus half under root t dt. This is what my integral becomes. So just simply integrate this. This is a simple function. This becomes minus 1 by 3 t raised to 3 by 2. That means minus 1 by 3. My t was 4 minus sine 2x. So this raised to 3 by 2. And therefore finally 0 to pi by 4 cos 2x under root 4 minus, this is what we are required to find out. This becomes minus 1 by 3 4 minus sine 2x raised to 3 by 2 whole varying from 0 to pi by 4, right. So finally once you solve out this, substitute the limit 0 to pi by 4 and you get your answer as 8 minus 3 root 3 by 3. So this is our final value, required value. So just simply solve out your question, find out the integral, and finally you can substitute the limits. Next question that we have is integral 0 to 1 x ln of 1 plus 2x dx is 3 ln 3 by 8. Okay, so what I do, again in indefinite integration you must have learned how to solve out integrals of this form, right. This is what we are required to find out. I take this function as first, this is my second function, and so the formula is first function integral of second, that is x square by 2, minus integral derivative of first, that would be 1 plus 2x, 2 integral of second, right. So again I have x square by 2 dx. So this finally becomes ln of 1 plus 2x x square by 2 minus 2 gets cancelled, and I have x square by 1 plus 2x dx. Now what about this? How do you compute this integral? You can use partial fractions, and so this can finally be written as minus of integral sign x by 2 minus 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4 1 by 1 plus 2x dx, right. This is what I get. How do you solve out this? You can just see here, you can put it as ax plus b plus c by 1 plus 2x. Now just take, this will become ax plus b into 1 plus 2x plus c. Now equate the terms, coefficients of x, x square and constant terms, and you will get the values of a, b and c. So finally you will reach this step, right. You will get it in this form, and so this can be easily integrated now. So I have ln of 1 plus 2x into x square by 2 minus, now this becomes again x square by 4, right. I am integrating this term, then I have plus 1 by 4x, then I have 1 by 8 ln of 1 plus 2x, right. So basically what we are doing in definite integration is that if you remember, in indefinite integration you used to get a constant on integrating the functions. Now in this case we won't be getting constant because we are having definite limits. So we have reached this step. This finally becomes x square by 2 ln of 1 plus 2x minus x square by 4 plus 1 by 4x minus 1 by 8 ln of 1 plus 2x, right. So what do we get after this? Now we just need to, we have already found out the integral, you just need to substitute the limit. So 0 to 1 x ln of 1 plus 2x dx is finally equal to You can just substitute 0 to 1 limit in this term, and so what we'll get is 3 ln 3 by 8, and that is what we were required to prove in fact. So this is how you are going to solve out your definite integrals. So I hope you must have understood the definition of definite integration, and as I've already told you, you must have realized that definite integration is basically based on indefinite integration. You would have also understood the various important points of definite integration. Now in the next session, we will be switching to the important properties of definite integration, and the properties of definite integration are extremely important from your examination point of view. So stay tuned.